Our economies today are dependent on other countries. Europeans rely on items made in China and designed by Americans. This system is at the mercy of largely one country, the Arab Republic of Egypt. We need to go back, though, to understand this better. The Suez Canal was completed by a French company in 1869 and was under British control through World War II until this guy decided to nationalize it and put it in Egyptian control. Why he did this, though, requires some explanation. Gamal Abdel Nasser was an Arab nationalist who wanted to make a unified Arab state, and one that would be a superpower at that. He was charismatic, and most Arabs loved him. He was very good at one thing too in particular, and that was playing off other superpowers against each other. He was receiving funding from the United States and the United Kingdom to build a large dam that would provide energy for Egypt, the Aswan Dam, which would in turn create Lake Nasser, named after the man himself. While Uncle Sam was giving him money to control the river, though, Soviet Khrushchev was giving him guns and ammunition. Uncle Sam didn't really like it when people received communist guns and decided to cut funding for the dam. Being a broke socialist, Nasser needed more money, and that's when he thought, what if we send troops into the Suez Canal, kick the British out, and make money off the tolls from the canal? And so he did. Naturally, the British weren't very pleased with this, and teamed up with the French and Israelis to take military action against Egypt for what Nasser did. Interestingly enough, though, it didn't go that well for them. You see, Uncle Sam's goal wasn't to start a conflict in the Middle East and get involved in it because, even though his two best friends were going at it in Egypt, he was afraid that if America joined in, then the USSR would also do so on behalf of Egypt's protection, starting a third world war, legit not 12 years after they just had one. America also wanted to keep open the possibility of maintaining some sort of relationship with the Arab world, so they don't all fall to Soviet influence, and invading a country, in this scenario Egypt, would not be seen as a very nice thing to do in front of other Arabs. Lastly, the Eisenhower administration was genuinely kind of mad at the French and British for their imperialism. Even though it had colonies of its own and intervened in other countries, America had given independence to the Philippines and was trying to generally disassociate and separate itself from the colonialism of France and Britain. All this combined, America, alongside the USSR, demanded a ceasefire in Egypt, and America even threatened to put sanctions on all three countries for their intervention. They all subsequently left. The result was not very beneficial to anyone in the end. It was an embarrassment to the British Empire, which, since the end of World War II, was trying to keep up with America and the USSR, but struggled to. They'd lost India, their most strategic colony, and were now kicked out of Egypt for good, their second most strategic colony. Not just that, but their failure also symbolized a damage to their prestige in the face of American and Soviet prestige. France was also having a tough time. They were fighting a war in Algeria, another Arab state, over their independence, as well as in Indochina, which is now known as Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. All of which would help in the eventual failure of what was known as the Fourth French Republic, in other words, France's fourth update of democracy, and could have nearly resulted in a civil war were it not for the help of this guy. Egypt also didn't prosper economically right away from the Suez Canal, yet Nasser would continue to be well received by most Arabs, as the military intervention galvanized Arabs and made them united in the face of a perceived aggressor, as most invasions do. Overall, the lesson we can take away is the value of non-aggression, and how a slower and more strategic process may be more effective and less costly in the short run. Moral of the story: don't invade other countries.